I urge the DILG and the PNP to implement existing protocols with greater urgency and necessity. It is only by imposing these restrictions that we can fight the threat of Delta variant. Now, remember that the reason why the security forces of the government are very strict is not because they want to be strict and they want to make it hard for the people to move. Rather, they are strict because they want to protect the country from a very contagious disease and maybe cause more deaths, more than the lives that we lost in the past.
The Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Charles Lejano. The COVID-19 reproduction number in the National Capital Region went above 1 for the first time since April, when the capital was still under ECQ. The OCTA Research Group reports that the R0 in Metro Manila increased to 1.06 as of last week. Average new cases climbed 11% to 701 as of July 13 to 19, after 4 weeks of the daily average staying below 700. Team OCTA says the uptick is a cause for concern but not yet cause for alarm, as they have yet to determine whether this is an increasing trend. Higher reproduction numbers were reported in Manila and Makati, clocking in between 1.1 and 1.4. Manila had a one-week growth rate of 35%, while Makati reported a 29% growth rate over the past week. Other Metro Manila LGUs that showed a significant increase in COVID-19 growth rates are Valenzuela, Pasay, Marikina, and Parañaque. Areas in the entire country identified as high risk are Davao City, Cebu City, Bacolod, Iloilo City, Makati, and Cagayan de Oro, as well as Baguio City, General Santos, Lawag, Lapu-Lapu, and Butuan. The Health Department says Metro Manila's COVID-19 situation remains low risk. However, the agency says this doesn't mean that NCR residents should be complacent, especially with the threat of the Delta variant. To tell us more about this, we have JC Cosico now reporting live from San Andres in Manila. Good afternoon, JC. If Metro Manila is still at low risk, which are considered as the high-risk areas?
Charles, the Health Department said that among the areas which are classified as high risk include the regions 11, 6, and the Cordillera Administrative Region. Now, Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere said that the ICU utilization rate of Region 11 remains high, so as in regions 12 and 9, in which their ICU utilization rate is currently at high risk. Charles.
Now, what is the latest on the government's contact tracing efforts, at least insofar as the Delta variant cases in the country?
Charles, so far the Health Department has contact traced about 91 individuals of the 16 latest Delta variant cases in the country. Now, of these 91, around 40 plus came, or 46 are returning overseas Filipinos. Those coming from Region 10 are 27, Region 6 are 10 cases, while NCR there were 8 contacts that the government was able to trace. Now, the Health Department says that contact tracing is still ongoing up to the 3rd generation contacts, and they have yet to update us regarding that. Charles.
Right, so apart from contact tracing, we also have to deal with genome sequencing. How is the government prioritizing this for those who are found positive for the Delta variant?
Charles, the Health Department said that since the UK variant emerged in the country, they have been investing on genome sequencing. But what the government is saying is that they are doubling their efforts when it comes to border control. Again, these are part of their measures to control or slow down the spread of the Delta variant in the Philippines. Charles.
Right, but then stricter border control isn't really something new insofar as authorities are concerned. So how exactly did those infected with the Delta variant get into the country, given that authorities are indeed implementing strict border controls?
Charles Yusek Vergere said that they are investigating on how the Delta variant entered the Philippines. They are also making sure that border controls are being strictly implemented and comprehensively being implemented in our border areas. They're also making sure that the four-door policy, which includes the border control, the intensive contact tracing, are being implemented thoroughly so that there will be, or somehow, the spread of this virus will decrease. Charles.
JC, do we have any updates on the government study on the possible use of booster shots?
Charles Yusek Vergere said that there is an ongoing study that is funded by the Department of Science and Technology, in which this study will run for about 18 months. And Yusek Vergere said that as we speak, there is still no recommendation to use booster shots in the Philippines because of insufficient data and equity concerns, saying that there are so many Filipinos who are still waiting to receive their COVID-19 vaccines. Charles.
Thanks for that, JC. That was JC Cosico reporting live from San Andres in Manila. Infectious disease professor Ben Cowley discusses the efficacy of various vaccine brands against the Delta variant in this edition of Bloomberg Markets Asia. Let's listen in.
There's a lot of different vaccines. I think more than 15 vaccines available for COVID-19. BioNTech is at the top, probably the most effective available, and then Sinovac is one of the more moderate effectiveness vaccines. And so this 10 times difference in antibody levels is kind of what we were expecting. It's not brilliant. We prefer all the vaccines to be more effective, but given the limitations in supply of many of the vaccines, if you had to choose between having Sinovac and having nothing, still definitely better to have Sinovac, and it saved a lot of lives in Asia, in South America, around the world.
Does this mean that we're just going to need more booster shots then when it comes to these non-mRNA efficacy?
Most likely the antibodies from the Sinovac vaccine won't last as long, so they're lower, and they won't last as long, so it means people who get the Sinovac will need a booster sooner than people who got the BioNTech jab, maybe early next year. But in the meantime, it's still really good that we have all these different vaccines available, and we've seen them save many, many lives.
Well, okay, give us a sense. You're saying if the BioNTech one gives you 10 times the amount of antibodies than the Sinovac one. What does that mean, actually?
Protection is much, much higher, so we can link up antibodies with protection, and we've got like a little graph that we can read off the values. So if you go way up that graph with antibody levels, you're going to go way up in terms of protection. So it does match 95%
But you can still
protection.
carry the virus, can't you? That's the thing. But the viral load is a lot lower.
For people who've had the BioNTech vaccine, actually, they're much, much less likely to even get infected. If they do get infected, the viral load will be lower. So altogether, they're much less likely to pass on the virus because they probably wouldn't get infected, and even if they did, they'd have less virus. For people who get the Sinovac vaccine, it's not so clear-cut. They may still be able to get infected, still able to pass on infection, but they'll have a milder infection, and that's how it's saving lives.
Which vaccine do you think has the highest efficacy rate against Delta?
So right now is BioNTech and Moderna have the highest level of efficacy against Delta. What we're hoping for is maybe 2.0 version, BioNTech 2.0, Moderna 2.0 or others, which are specifically against the Delta variant. That's possible, and it's one of the advantages that mRNA vaccines offer because they can be updated so quickly. But I haven't heard about when that might come online, but hopefully that would really be exciting if that happened.
What do you make of mixing vaccines?
I think it's a lot of potential, but we haven't tested it.
Yeah.
So I think it's a missed opportunity because when BioNTech was made, the developers just look at BioNTech plus BioNTech. When Sinovac's made, the developers look at Sinovac plus Sinovac. Nobody's really yet looked at combining them in Hong Kong or in other parts of the world with AstraZeneca, with other vaccines. I think immunologically there could be advantages, immunologically, but we can't recommend it until it's been tested.
What if I told you that you could get a chance to win your own home, your very own house and lot, just by getting yourself vaccinated? No, this isn't a game show, but an initiative of some LGUs to incentivize COVID-19 inoculations. Mobile journalist Jacob Lazaro gives us a front seat to the story.
Five months into the country's COVID-19 vaccination drive, local governments have been creative in enticing people to get vaccinated. Some offer sacks of rice, groceries, and even motorcycles. But the town in Ilocos Sur has raised the bar by offering a house and lot as a raffle prize for vaccinees.
Alam mo kasi pwedeng gayahin yung mga best practices ng mga bayan ano, Robert? So naisip ko dito naman sa bayan ng Santa na house and land din dahil may minana kaming mga lote doon, mga malilit lang.
Complete with its own kitchen, bathroom, and 2 bedrooms, the house comes with a lot of almost 100 square meters, enough to accommodate a family of 5 or more. Construction started this July and is expected to finish by December, in time for the December 16 raffle draw.
Itong raffle na ito ay hindi ibig sabihin na lahat ay may ano sa tambyulo, ano, yung mga poorest among the poor lang. Meaning yung talagang walang-wala. Yung mga may bahay na, hindi na.
1,365 residents of Santa Town have been vaccinated, only 7.3% of its population of 15,000. The town is already seeing a spike in their COVID cases. From March 2020 to June 2021, Santa Town reported 49 cases, but just for the first half of July, they already reported an additional 43 cases.
Ang mga ospital ngayon ay puno na. Ang quarantine namin dito, puno rin. So we are asking the Department of Education na ipahiram na naman tong mga public buildings nila for isolation.
Bueno says he donated the lot and shouldered the construction cost of 300,000 pesos from his own pocket. National government officials have urged local governments to explore legal avenues to sweeten the pot, as the country aims for herd immunity. Over in central Luzon, San Luis Town in Pampanga has been giving out cows for vaccine raffle winners. And in Metro Manila, Las Piñas Congresswoman Camille Villar also put up a house and lot worth 1.5 million pesos for their local vaccination drive. But Bueno says it's just as important to encourage people to get vaccinated as soon as the jabs are available.
Ang pinaka-importante, yung massive dissemination and information sa barangay, parang mawili silang magpabakuna.
I'm Jacob Lazaro and we are One News.
And those are the top stories at this hour. Join us again later at 1 p.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com so you can stream One News live anytime and anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.